You can study for 3 straight hours, fill pages with notes, and genuinely feel like you understand it. Then you open the same material the next morning and your mind is blank, like someone hit delete. What makes you mad is not the difficulty. It is the feeling that your effort disappeared while you slept. If you have ever been stuck in that loop, like and subscribe because what comes next explains the real mechanism behind why it vanishes overnight and how to stop it. Most people instantly blame themselves. Lazy, not disciplined, not smart enough. But the brain does not store information like a hard drive where copy means keep. It is a priority system. What gets pulled back out at the right rhythm gets kept. What only passes through your eyes gets dropped. Rereading and highlighting create familiarity, and you mistake familiarity for memory. You think you are stacking knowledge. Your brain thinks you are just looking at ink. Here's the simple test. If you cannot explain the idea out loud without looking, you do not own it yet. You only recognize it. Recognition is when the page feels familiar. Recall is when you can produce the idea from nothing. One of those builds memory. The other builds confidence that collapses the moment the book closes. That is why you feel betrayed. You feel smart during the session. Then you feel empty the next day. But nothing mysterious happened. Your brain kept what you proved was useful, and it tossed what you only watched. Now for the reframe. Japanese students are expected to retain more than 2,000 kanji over years, across subjects and exams. If they tried to survive that with pure grinding, they would burn out long before they got good. So what keeps it in place is not a trick. It is timing. They start by making the brain ready to store. Like preparing soil before you plant. Dry soil does not hold seeds. A brain that is out of rhythm does not hold what you cram into it. You are not missing effort. You are missing a stable biological rhythm for memory to latch onto. The core principle is blunt. Long-term memory comes from pulling information out at the right time, not shoving it in over and over. Every time you actively recall, you prove to your brain that this information matters. Every time you only reread, you only prove that your eyes saw it. This routine looks less dramatic, but it follows the rules of storage. So I am going to give you a simple day structure. Morning is for waking the system and building a recall backbone. Afternoon is for focused work, clean breaks, and the first spacing. Night is for labeling what matters and protecting sleep, so replay can actually happen. First, the morning is where you stop the overnight delete feeling from even starting. Morning. Most people think studying begins when they open the book. It actually begins when their eyes meet light. Morning daylight tells your brain it is time, pushing cortisol up on schedule. Cortisol at the right time does not just wake you up. It helps set the timing for your sleep later. If your rhythm is off, you are trying to learn on a broken clock, so do the simplest upgrade. Get light early. Even a few minutes outside helps. Add a short walk or a few slow stretches, not for fitness, for timing. Your brain listens to light and movement more than it listens to motivation. Your hippocampus is short-term storage. Your cortex is long-term storage. After a night of reorganization, morning is when memory pathways are easiest to reinforce. That is why the smartest move is not rushing into new material. It is touching yesterday first. You are using a biological window that opens on its own. So the first step is not read. The first step is recall. Close the book and ask yourself what you remember from yesterday and where you got stuck. That is retrieval. It creates the right amount of struggle so your brain has to rebuild the pathway. Highlighting feels smooth. Recall is real. The smoother it feels, the more you are being fooled. Here's the rule that fixes most study sessions. Every time you finish a chunk, you must produce something without looking. A 30-second summary. 3 bullet points. 1 example. Anything that forces output. If you cannot produce it, do not reread the whole page. Find the missing piece. Learn only that. Then try again. That loop is the loop your brain respects. And do not wait until you feel ready. Recall is supposed to feel a little uncomfortable. That discomfort is a map. It shows you exactly what is weak. If you never feel tension, you are probably staying in recognition. Then you learn the heavy stuff, but you learn to answer, not to stare. Read a short section, ask a question, answer it from memory, then check. Every time you produce the answer, you send a priority signal to the storage system. That is why so many people can read and understand, but cannot perform. They never train the output pathway. Knowledge becomes stable when you can pull it out in silence. Make this even sharper with one habit. After each section, write 1 quiz question and answer it immediately from memory. 1 question per section is enough. It prevents passive reading from pretending to be learning. Finally, make it easy to start. Same seat, a sip of water, 1 slow breath. Your brain latches onto consistent context cues. Repeating them reduces friction, moving from fog to focus. You do not need steel discipline. You need a slide. Next, the afternoon is where most people waste time because they confuse longer with better. Afternoon. The common mistake is turning the afternoon into a marathon. More coffee, more tension, more hours, hoping brute force will compensate. But attention has a rhythm. Stretch it too long and you are mostly increasing sitting time, not learning. You get more tired, remember less, then blame yourself again. Strong learners do not push longer. They push smarter. Use a simple block. About 40 minutes of focus, then a short break. This is not a productivity hack. It matches how attention naturally cycles. In the break, your brain tends to replay what you just learned in the background, which helps lock details in. So keep breaks clean. Stand up, water. A quick look far away to relax your eyes. If you want something useful, do a 10-second recall check from the last block. Do not scroll. Scrolling replaces replay with noise. Now we talk spacing, because this is where you can cut your study time without losing results. If you want less time and more retention, return right when you are about to forget. When the pathway starts to fade, one recall strengthens it the most. Reviewing when it is still too fresh mostly repeats familiarity. Here is a simple spacing template that works for most material. Same day quick recall, even 2 minutes. Next day deeper recall. 3 days later fast recall. 1 week later fast recall. After that, you bring it back only when it starts fading or when a test gets close. You do not need perfect. You need consistent. But there is a trap. People use spaced repetition and still fail because they turn it into rereading. Spacing only works when you try to pull the answer out first. Then look. Your brain records strongly when you predict and discover where you were wrong. If you see the answer first, you lose that signal and memory becomes flat. If you use flashcards, do not make them pure definition trivia. Make them retrieval prompts that force meaning. Ask for an example. Ask for the difference between two ideas. Ask when to use it. That is how you train the brain to choose the right tool. Not just recite words. Also, stop treating mistakes like shame. Treat mistakes like targets. Keep a tiny mistake list. When you miss a problem, write what you thought and what is actually true. Then review only that list every few days. This compresses your time into the places where studying has high return. And protect your energy. A heavy sugary lunch often creates an afternoon crash that makes you chase focus with caffeine. When your body is stressed, your brain prioritizes survival over detail. You remember the anxiety, not the content. Keep lunch lighter and simpler if you can. If the afternoon still feels foggy, do 1 minute of reset. Stand up, slow breathing, drop your shoulders. You are activating the parasympathetic system to lower mental noise and sharpen attention again. This is mechanical, not spiritual. Finally, the night is where you either save what you learned or quietly throw it away. Night. The mistake at night is thinking closing the book ends the day. Before sleep, there is a window where your brain decides what is worth carrying into the night. A 10-minute review is enough, not to learn more, but to label what matters. Treat that review like pressing save. Restate the main ideas from memory. What were the 3 points? What was the method? What is one example? This activates the system at the right time to schedule replay while you sleep. Replay is your brain running patterns again to move them into long-term storage. But it only works well when your sleep is deep and calm. Light broken sleep still counts as sleep, but it is not strong saving, so night is not for pushing harder. Night is for protecting sleep. Dim lights. Get off screens earlier if you can. Keep your sleep time relatively consistent so your brain knows when it can drop. Choose a tiny Kaizen target and stop. 1 flashcard, 1 formula, 1 character. The goal is closure, not stimulation. If your mind races, offload it. Write a short list of what you are worried about and what you will do tomorrow. This is a technical unload so your brain stops trying to keep reminders alive at midnight. And set up tomorrow. Write 1 recall prompt for the morning. 1 question you will answer without looking. That tiny cue turns your morning into instant retrieval and closes the loop. Most people live in an extreme cycle. Normal days feel scattered. Then the deadline hits. Then they cram. Then they burn out. Then they hate themselves. Then they drift again. This rhythm-based routine looks boring, but it wins. A little recall at the right times, then let sleep do the heavy lifting. One approach fights the system. The other cooperates with it. Here's the freeing truth. You are not broken. You are just paying with the wrong currency. You pay in hours sitting, but the brain accepts payment and retrieval at the right rhythm and protected sleep. Change the currency and the overnight delete feeling fades. Tomorrow, do one thing. 5 minutes of recall right after you wake up. Do not read first. Pull out what you remember, then open the material to check. Do it for a few days, and your mornings will feel different before you can even explain why. If you want the next step, I will show you how to set spacing so spaced repetition actually sticks instead of backfiring. Like and subscribe so you do not miss that video. And if this helped, send it to a friend who keeps blaming themselves for forgetting.